High notes are not complicated, they're just hard. So, let's talk about high notes. What's up, everyone? I'm Lesage, and I'm going to help you today to understand one of the more difficult things in singing. If at any time you feel confused about what I'm saying or the exercises, you can send me a DM on Instagram at Lesage Singing, and I will personally help you with one phrase. Just be sure to send a recording. The keys to singing high notes are open throat, laryngeal tilt, and minimal air. Now, I just threw a lot of words, a lot of singing terminology at you, but don't worry, we're going to get right into it and explain everything. So, let's talk about the first key, and that is the open throat. Okay? The open throat describes more of a feeling than it does anything technical as far as the anatomy is concerned. You can actually experience the open throat in speech. So if I went to talk like this is normally how I would speak if I were engaged or whatever. And this is the same exact pitch, but one is a more open throat. Stylistically, the open throat is preferred in jazz. Oh, it's often used many words to say a simple thing. It's also used a lot in opera, everywhere in opera. Ecco la casa Dio che rendono te. A little low there, but anyway, you get it. Now in pop, you're generally not doing that, right? You're doing the more like this, which is the not open throat, and you're doing that in the middle and bottom, and then you switch to an open throat on the top. Well, I heard there was a secret chord. I could go on and on with many different examples and many different genres, but let's get right into it, because if you do the following exercise, you're going to be able to choose when you're going to do it and when you're not going to do it. So let's jump right into the first key. The exercise that I'm going to talk about is really easy. It's just called the sigh. Ah. Ah. Now, conceptually, that's really easy, but the things you want to look out for are, do you feel something happening here? Right? Personally, when I do it, I can feel it even on the inhale. And then I can choose to also switch it back to that. Nothing is happening with my tongue. Everything is happening in terms of how I feel open versus how I don't feel open. All of this is to say you should be practicing the easy to get to the hard. You need to be able to go from this all the way to this. And you need to be able to do that consciously and do it in your bottom. If you can do that, high notes are going to be way easier. And what is the second key? The NG whimper. I know my words. The NG whimper is going to be something that teaches you laryngeal tilt, which is pretty important to high notes in general. It's a pretty simple exercise. I'll show you right now. That is, again, another exercise where you might benefit a lot by doing it laying down. This exercise, when used in combination with the sigh, is fantastic for getting into the high notes. Okay? Don't think of one exercise and then do the other and then think like a box is checked, okay? You want to utilize both in combination to start to feel comfortable. So if I do this, starting to feel cozy on that one. Let me do the NG now. I noticed that on the NG, immediately I lost the open throat, so I went back. And I'm playing with it. I'm playing with that sensation that I got on the side, but now I'm doing it on the NG. What we're not going to do is we're not going to pick a pitch and aim for it. That's a disaster of an idea. The NG whimper can slightly go up in pitch over time, but the whole point of this is to seek comfort first. High notes are not glorious when they splat. You might hit the note, you might even hit it on pitch, which is probably not going to happen, but even if it does, you want to find comfort so that you can sing glorious, beautiful, free high notes Okay? So use the sigh. Ah. 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 Then start to take that comfort, put it to the NG. Hmm. 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 And you'll progressively work your way upward. Okay? You can and should take a piece of repertoire, a piece of music. I cannot see because of my freaking quarantine here. But you need to take these exercises and put them with repertoire. And then you can start to do the NG exercise in Whimper on a musical phrase. And I'll show you exactly how I do that. This phrase is from the musical South Pacific. Okay, so we're getting kind of, that's the entrance into the high notes, but for a lot of people that's the most difficult part. If you can't hit the notes before the high notes, that's your tell that you need to work on the notes before the high notes. I see a lot of people sending me a phrase to my Instagram, and they're like, I'm having trouble with the high notes, but it's all the notes before it leading up to it. There's some small difficulties, there's some small discomfort, and then they splat on the high note. Work on the notes beforehand. If you aren't absolutely comfortable on the notes before the high note, then that's why you're not hitting the high note. It's because you're having trouble in general with some of your singing. And that's a good tell. So by virtue of that, and don't worry, we'll get into the super top later as an example, but just we're going to use this phrase for now. Ah, 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 ah. What I'm doing there is I'm not giving it a tempo. Okay? Why? If I can't hit the notes slow or fast or whatever, why, then I'm not going to be able to do it in the context of an actual song when I'm thinking about the words and I want to express myself. Take it out of there. Take it out of the extra difficulty and isolate each note's on the side. Ah, ah. And again, you're trying to experience that open throat all the way up to here. Ah, ah. Mm, 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 mm. Right? And that's still a little tight. So I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on that whimper and that open throat until I can get to these notes. Now, I implore you to take breaks here, okay? Don't practice for an hour at a time. At most 15 minutes, okay? So after doing a lot of the sighing, after doing a lot of the NGing, what I've noticed is that after I feel like the sides of my tongue are comfortably resting on the molars, after everything is feeling easy, I've noticed that, okay, there's the comfort, there's the complete freedom. Let me try it on the actual phrase now that I have that. Angel and lover, heaven and earth am I with you. Now that I can do it quietly and easily, then I can add the volume after my wife wakes up. Hell hath no fury like a woman woken up from her sleep. So if you're still having trouble, let's talk about the third key, okay? It's going to be massively helpful to you. I went over this a little bit in my other video about breath exercises, and this is the advanced exercise that I talked about in my breathing exercises. Highly recommend you do the other two exercises. Also, don't use a coffee stirrer to start. This is sort of the extreme of the extreme. Use a regular straw, okay? I know it might be a little difficult to go out and order a straw or look for one on Amazon. You could try a takeout place, see if they carry straws. If you don't find a straw in the interim, those other two exercises are going to really, really help you, and there are other breath exercises in my breathing video on this channel. Anyway, assuming that you have a straw or can get a straw, let's talk about the straw exercise. I'm going to use the same phrase that I used before. And we're going to assume that I've done the other two exercises. I'm making a big stink about doing the other exercises because what I'm worried about is people doing the exercises for like 15 minutes, moving on to the second one, and pretending like they've checked a box, pretending like after 14 years, I don't do these exercises, okay? They're super, super helpful. Every warm-up should be a playground, should be a scientific experiment, should be you saying, what is going on right now, and what can I do to help? I go back and forth between exercises all the time. I'm telling you the point of these exercises and what they're used for. I would even, honestly, if I could go back in time, I would take one exercise, do it for a week or two, and just play with one exercise at a time to get the most out of it. Now, if you don't have the patience for that, obviously singing has to be fun and enjoyable, and you have to build up that curiosity and build up that sensitivity to your body to be curious over time. My point is, though, do not rush for high notes. It's not complicated. There's no secret sauce. You have to be doing your fundamentals impeccably in order to hit high notes. So don't rush through these things. Okay, I'm off my pedestal now. Let's talk about the straw. The straw is always going to be a tell if you can maintain the open throat, but also have minimal air pressure, particularly true for the coffee stir, all right? Right on the bottom note, I don't feel an open throat. Ah, going back to the sigh. Ah. Ah. Now that I have that, I'm going to go... So one thing I'm noticing, and this is a second really big, awesome part of the NG exercises, I do feel like I have an open throat, and I do feel like the straw is easier, but there's still something happening that's getting in my way. Lo and behold, it's tongue tension. So then I go back to the NG exercise. A proper NG exercise, you have the sides of your tongue on the molars, the tongue is forward, and it is comfortable, and it is sitting gloriously. You can't do the NG exercise with the straw, but you can take the straw out and do the NG exercise. It's like a smile. It's like a smile on the back of your throat. Super easy now. Notice I haven't moved beyond the bottom note of the phrase. Listen, if you're not singing the bottom right, you're not going to sing the top right. Again, high notes are not complicated. They're just hard. Anyone telling you they got the secret sauce is selling you something, okay? That note has to be good in order to get to this note, in order to get to this note, in order to get to this note, okay? You have to be singing, well, your fundamentals have to be solid. This is the ultimate breath test. Use it on the bottom. Save yourself the energy and the practice time. You can practice way more in the middle, way more in the bottom than you can on the top. So use that. Use these exercises as tests, because then you'll be able to practice more. That's the hot tip of the day. Effortless, quiet, easy. Now I'm running into trouble here, but these were all feeling wonderful. I spent a lot of time here, and that's the key thing, is that this is going to take time. This is going to take a lot of time, and you need to be able to have that patience, all right? Not quite, right? Little gust of air. Easier, but because I've been singing for so long, because I've been doing these exercises for so long, I know that there was just the slightest bit of tension. Now, I've been focusing on these exercises for 15 minutes. And what's the rule? Take breaks. I want you to remember that. It's really important. Right. Sipping water, a really good idea to do during your breaks, by the way. If you don't want to have a timer, which is totally understandable during your practice session, what I recommend is just the second you feel mentally tired, the second you start feeling frustration, walk away. Walk away. You need to be paying attention during your practice session. If there's anything distracting you, walk away. One of the things that might happen is you might have to start over, right? I'm not going to go right here. I'm going to go back to the beginning of the phrase and probably have to find everything over again. But, and this is important, write this down. That is what you want. Okay? It does you no good to find it once. The way that the brain wraps myelin around neural pathways, which is to say the way that the brain gets better at a thing, is that you stop, find it again. Stop, find it again. That's the secret sauce. And no, I'm not telling you anything. Luciano Pavarotti, a name that if you don't know, well, then I just feel old and out of touch. But Luciano Pavarotti was one of the greatest opera singers of all time. Very, very solid technique, incredible singer. And he would say that he would try to make the voice work in the morning. And if it didn't work, he'd walk away. Okay? Then he'd try again a little bit in the afternoon. That didn't work. He'd walk away. And if the evening came around and he had to sing that evening, he would make it work. Okay? Listen, the body is the instrument. The body changes every day. Try your best to work with what you got, walk away, and come back to it. Speaking of which, I should actually take my own advice and take a break right now because I'm really, I want to get the video done, so I'm trying to make this work. I'm just like a little too amped up right now. I need to take a solid break. It's hard, but it's the best way to do things, okay? I'm coming back from my break, and I'm going to use the other two exercises. Remember, this stuff is cumulative, right? So, I'm noticing something different right now than I did before. Right now, my abdomen is tight, okay? We want to take these opportunities during these exercises to notice things, okay? What's interesting is as I came back after my break, I've noticed something different about the NG exercise. It's something I've noticed before, but today I'm just sort of remembering it. I'm sort of realizing, I was not doing as wide, as relaxed of a tongue on the NG as I could have been. Remember, these things, these are basic things of singing that have to be done impeccably throughout the range in order for you to do what you want with your voice. You're never going to be beyond the basics, so take your time on them. This is what I was doing before. This is what I'm doing now. And it's way wider in my throat and in my tongue. It's just so much wider. And I'm noticing that and I'm implementing that. You get so much more of a rich understanding when you take a break, you come back, and you do the same thing. Now let's see what the implications are before with the straw. This phrase was hard. Let's see if the NG and my better understanding of it after taking a break helps me. One thing you're going to realize that once you start getting into the top, there's more energy. The body has to be energized. Not tight, not stiff, not like, let's go. All right, you're not going to down an energy drink and do this. I don't, in general, by the way, do energy drinks before a practice session because that is not going to help. But the body is energized, and that really helped. Now, unfortunately, the wife is still asleep. I'm not going to hit like the F5 or the high C or anything like that because even though I can do those things, it doesn't matter because those high Cs, those F5s, whatever else you are planning to sing in repertoire will always be better if the notes before it are better. So let's review the three really important keys, okay? And those were boop, open throat, laryngeal tilt, and minimal air. The open throat, the sigh exercise, laryngeal tilt, you get through that whimper. And when you can combine the two, you bring in the straw exercise because that's going to tell you when you're using too much air. All three of those combined, all three of those done really, really well are going to get you to a higher note. Now, again, if you have any questions at all, if you're getting stuck, anything like that is happening as I'm waving this straw at your face, for which I apologize, that is rather aggressive. But if you have any questions, feel free to take advantage of the fact that I am a voice teacher and you can send me a direct message and I will help you directly. By the way, it's free, right? Like there's no charge for this, so just take advantage of it. And until next time, happy singing.